LJ and BB coming to you today from Hindsight Hurts to discuss the painful aftermath of your loved one's suicide. My nephew and BB's son passed away in January of this year, and I'm going to turn it over to her to tell that story. In the weeks to come, we will dive deeper into the hindsight of the hurt of the aftermath that you eventually find out. BB?
Before I get started, I wanted to tell anyone and everyone who's listening, if you are thinking of suicide or in a lot of pain or just have any bad thoughts, please, please, please call someone, talk to someone. You can dial 800-273-8255 or 988 in order to be able to speak to someone. I'm going to start with the day that turned our lives upside down. On January the 8th at 2024, day started like normal. It was a Monday morning, beautiful weather outside, and I had just gotten through with the gym and I'd gone down to the Dollar Tree, and I'd just come out of the Dollar Tree and got into my car and my phone rang. And at first, I didn't recognize the number, but I recognized the area code of the number. And I almost didn't answer it because I didn't see any reason to. But then I recognized the name of the hospital. So the lady on the other end gave me my name and asked, is that who she was speaking with? And I said yes. And then she asked me if I had a son and gave me his name, and I said yes. And then she informed me that they had gotten a 911 call, and when they got to the house, they lost his pulse and was never able to regain it. So I was a little confused about what she was saying, so I had to clarify, and I asked her, so are you saying that he's dead? And she said, yes, he is. So I asked her what happened, and she said that the autopsy would tell more about exactly what happened. And I was just devastated, crying, not knowing what to do. So we hung up, and a few minutes later, my phone rang again, same number, same hospital name. And I thought, oh, she made a mistake. She's calling to tell me that she made a mistake and that he's really alive. But she was asking me for permission to do an autopsy. And again, I asked her what happened, and it was then that she told me that he had taken his life. Now, I was 10 to 12 miles away from home, and my husband was 20 or 25 miles away from home at a doctor's appointment. I didn't want to call him at the doctor's office, and I didn't want him driving home that far after hearing such devastating news. So I wasn't sure what to do, but I wound up calling our pastor. He has walked through everything with us, through thick and thin, through all the years that he's been there, and he was the only person I could think of to call. Well, he asked me where I was at, and I told him, and he told me to stay there and that he and his wife would come and get me. And I tried to talk him out of it, but he absolutely refused and said they would be there. Then we hung up, and a few minutes later, he called back and advised me that his wife couldn't come because she had prior engagement things that she was working on. But he had called our youth leader's wife who lived in that little town, and they came and got me. She drove me home in his van, and then he drove my car home. So then we're sitting there waiting for my husband to get home so I could tell him the news. And we waited for a good little while, and then the pastor and the youth leader's wife wound up leaving, and as they were leaving, my husband pulled in the driveway. And I was on the porch telling him to come here, that I needed to talk to him, and he saw them pull in the driveway. So he goes, "No, I want to wait and see what they need." And I told him, I said, "No, I need you to come here." So I walked down the steps and went out to greet him, and I told him the devastating news, and then he started crying, period. Both of us could not wrap around our minds what had happened. We could not understand. Everything was just crazy and upside down, and we were both devastated and crying. And the pastor came into the house with us and sat down, and we started immediately thinking about needing to contact family members. We needed to call my son's estranged wife and their 4 kids. We needed to call our oldest son and let him know, and we needed to call his 2 daughters who were very close to their uncle. So as we're trying to figure everything out, the pastor helped us walk through so many different things that we were trying to think of, what we needed to do. He gave us good advice. We were going to wait to call my daughter-in-law, but he said, no, don't carry that burden around all day. So we called her, and she had the foresight to go pick up the kids from school and have them all four together when she broke the news to them. And we were able to call my son, and he was down in a training class, but he got permission to leave and he came. And then he called his daughters and they came. So we had a house full as we're trying to figure out everything. The pastor again gave us good advice on who we needed to call, what we needed to do, because we had no idea of how to handle things. And our son was in another state, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to get him here or we were going to get there, and we just didn't know what to do. But our pastor took over a lot of that for us. And fortunately, I have a really good church family, and so many of them came over and brought food and prayed with us and for us and sent cards and texts and phone calls. And I don't think we would have made it through without all of that support. Both my husband and I felt like we were going crazy. Our thoughts just ran together and ran around and upside down, and we were just jumbled. And when I was at that little town, I wanted to go home, but then when I got home, I didn't want to be at home, and nothing made sense to us, and everything was just very confusing, and it was just very difficult to um the hindsight part comes in to where we're looking back now on the last conversations that we had the last few weeks, months, and even years, and thinking back to what if, or how come, or how did we miss this, or what should we have seen, or was there something he said or did that should help us be aware of the thoughts that he had, because my husband and I had no idea. And we beat ourselves up now because looking back, we can see there were some words that he said and some little things that he made, comments that he made that maybe we should have picked up on that we had no idea. We will delve more deeply into exactly what led up to this in the next episode. But before we close out, I just want to say that because of the 911 call, we also are very confused. And did he not mean to actually take his life? Did it go farther than he meant? Or did he just simply change his mind? Sometimes that makes us feel better, and sometimes it makes us feel worse because we really do not know. And I guess we'll never really know exactly what made him get into the position to have the thoughts that he had, that he would be willing to take his own life.
And next on Hindsight Hurts, the signs we wish we would have known were so imperative, but were so subtle at the time. We welcome all of your stories and lives and feelings of the hindsight that may haunt you to this day. Please email us at hindsighthurts@mail.com. You can remain anonymous. We just want to share yours and our journeys together. And also, we are on Facebook at Hindsight Hurts. So please tell us your stories. And like I said, you can remain anonymous. And we are going to go into BB's story a little bit more in depth and go backwards for you guys a little bit next episode. So please stay tuned and we'll hear from you soon. BB, will you please go over those numbers again for the hotline of people who are in need of professional help if you're considering suicidal ideation at this point?
Yes, please call 800-273-8255 or 988. Please know that there is always someone to talk to if you have family members or friend, or if you want to come here and tell your story. But we just want to make sure that you know that there's someone that you can always speak with. Again, these two phone numbers are professionally trained people that can actually help you and give you advice and give you the support that you would need. Thank you very much.